Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating piece of spiritual literature from 2018. We're going to impartially unpack a very specific revelation from the happy science movement, all centered around the ancient god Ophearis. Whether you're looking at this from a theological angle, a sociological one, or just plain curiosity, the claims made here about the human body's potential are, well, they're nothing short of extraordinary. It really gives us this unique window into the intersection of human psychology and faith. So let's jump right in. Our primary source text is titled, What Are the Teachings of the Ancient God Ophearis? Recorded on January 17, 2018, this specific spiritual message outlines a highly dramatic, incredibly specific theology regarding physical healing. It goes way beyond your standard ideas of spiritual comfort and makes direct, literal claims about the physical human body. The book makes an astonishing claim. Even if a leg or arm is lost, it will truly grow back. And to be clear, we are not talking about a metaphor here. We are going to examine the bold, literal assertion that lost human limbs can physically regenerate through absolute, unwavering faith. To understand this doctrine, we're going to trace the logic across 5 key parts: the Ophearis revelation, health doubling power, the secret of regeneration, the barrier of disbelief, and finally, a reported modern-day necrotic foot miracle. Part 1, the Ophearis revelation. Let's look at where exactly this doctrine comes from. According to the text, this is a direct spiritual message from the ancient god Ophearis, who is actually identified in the writings as the Egyptian god Osiris. The premise? Ophearis has delivered this message to reveal, or I guess re-reveal, forgotten mystical healing powers to humanity today. The text positions this not as some brand new invention, but as an ancient divine truth being reintroduced to a modern world that has, supposedly, lost touch with its spiritual capabilities. Moving on to Part 2, Health Doubling Power. Chapter 7 of the text introduces the central mechanism for this miraculous healing. The foundational premise of this entire chapter is that simply believing in Ophearis acts as an absolute guarantee of physical health. The text argues that faith isn't just a psychological comfort, it's a literal physical shield and a regenerative engine for the human body. Strong belief, according to this doctrine, is the one and only prerequisite for overcoming any illness, injury, or physical malfunction. Basically, by strongly believing that your body will inevitably regenerate, you can overcome absolutely anything. And, this isn't just an abstract theory, it's an active practice. Believers actually travel to specific spiritual sites, like the Hakone Shoja temple, to participate in health doubling prayers. This really grounds those grand theological claims into a tangible, real-world ritual that believers can actively take part in. Part 3, the secrets of regeneration. Okay, so we know what the text claims, but how exactly does it explain the actual physical mechanics of regrowing a missing limb? Well, the text draws a direct biological comparison to the animal kingdom. It argues that just as lizards naturally possess the cellular ability to regrow lost tails, human cells actually possess a similar dormant regenerative ability. The big difference, the source claims, is that human regeneration is latent. It's essentially locked away. An absolute divine belief is the key required to activate it. So it frames miraculous healing not as magic, but as biology responding to spiritual permission. The book itself actually reads like an interview transcript, which is pretty interesting. Reading the dialogue between the interviewer and the spirit of Ophearis perfectly captures the dramatic, almost shocking nature of the claims being laid out in real time. In fact, the interviewer, a man named Saito, reacts exactly how you might expect. When the topic of limb regeneration is introduced, his immediate response in the transcript is simply, "Wait?" It's a genuine moment of understandable disbelief. The text itself acknowledges the sheer audacity of the concept by actually leaving this natural skeptical reaction in the final published version. But to Saito's hesitation, Ophearis doubles down immediately. The response is completely definitive. Yes, even if a leg or arm is lost, it will truly grow back. There is no walking back the claim here, no softening of the language at all. The text posits that a completely severed arm or leg will actually physically regrow if the individual's belief is strong enough to trigger that latent cellular ability we just talked about. Part 4, the barrier of disbelief. Now, if this power is real, we obviously hit a major theoretical hurdle here, which the source material directly addresses. It's the elephant in the room, right? If the human body truly has this latent ability to regenerate, Why don't we see amputated limbs spontaneously growing back in hospitals around the world every single day? Why is it so incredibly rare or entirely unheard of in conventional medicine? Well, let's look at the answer provided by the text. It points the finger squarely at the collective consciousness of humanity. The text suggests that the physical world is deeply influenced by spiritual and mental energy, specifically what it calls thought waves. To explain the sheer scale of this, the text makes a rather surprising pop culture reference. It mentions the number 3.5 billion, utilizing a joke from a famous Japanese comedian about there being 3.5 billion men on Earth. The text uses this specific number to playfully but forcefully symbolize the massive, overwhelming global population that is constantly transmitting a specific, unified belief. And what exactly is that unified belief? Well, Ophearis explains that because billions of people on Earth inherently believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that limbs simply cannot regrow, their collective negative thought waves create an invisible, suppressing barrier. According to this doctrine, the sheer volume of human skepticism physically blocks the miracle from occurring. It's kind of like an inverted placebo effect on a global scale. Because everyone knows it's impossible, the latent cellular ability remains dormant. So, to regenerate a limb, a believer must therefore not only have faith, but have a faith strong enough to pierce through the collective disbelief of billions. Part 5. The Necrotic Foot Miracle. To validate this extraordinary theology, the text offers a contemporary example. If we look at the book's afterword, dated February 9th, 2018, the author reports a real-time event. This isn't framed as some ancient myth from Egypt. This is presented as a contemporary event intended to serve as undeniable, modern proof of this regenerative power in action within the happy science community. According to the text, a believer suffered from a severe condition where the tissue in their leg turned necrotic. Medical doctors declared an amputation was absolutely necessary to save their life. However, instead of accepting the medical consensus, the believer went to the temple to pray earnestly, utilizing the health-doubling power we discussed earlier. The afterword reports that within a matter of days, the leg entirely revived and the toes fully regenerated, completely shocking the medical professionals. What the text is doing here is highly intentional. It's using this startling report to draw a sharp contrast between two completely different worldviews. On one side, you have what the text explicitly refers to as the limiting brainwashing of modern medical common sense, the idea that amputation is the only answer to necrosis. But on the other side, you have the limitless potential of a spiritual miracle, where complete regeneration is possible through pure faith in Ophearis. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. The 2018 revelation of Ophearis presents a truly radical view of the human body, one where cells actually listen to faith, and where global skepticism is the only thing holding back miracles. Whether you view this as a profound spiritual truth or an intriguing psychological phenomenon, the source material leaves us with a highly provocative question to ponder. Are we entirely bound by modern medical consensus, or is human potential ultimately limited only by the boundaries of our belief? Thank you so much for joining us, and keep questioning.